on tape from that first
It has. I think they've been real consistent. Number one, they've minimized the big plays. And they've gone up against some pretty good offenses. I think that, look, there's a period of the season where you can see on film this consistent lineup. I think prior to that, there'd been a lot of moving parts, and I think Jim's done a good job of getting that group settled in, and you can see the communication when they're in their dime package. Certainly Malcolm's inside. When they're in their nickel, there's several packages. You see 3 safety look last week to Chicago. So we've got to prepare for all of it, but I think they're playing a lot better.
Sean, does it help to be playing a team that you've already played the season? Or
it feels kind of, well, no, I think it feels a little bit like when, oftentimes in the playoffs, it's not unusual to play a division opponent. So when you play a team, look, it happened to us last year relative to Carolina the first game. We'd already played them twice, and then Minnesota the next game, we'd already played them earlier in the year. So I think it happens more often than you think. And now that game seems like it was a long time ago, relative to the season. So that film is important. But, all the games, we've got, all 16 weeks in the playoff. You have all of that on your video screen, cut-ups and everything. And but having played them, certainly for both teams, I'm sure there's a familiarity with personnel that I think is probably most important.
You said after that last game they played more man than you expected.
Yeah, they did. Listen, and over the years, I've always followed Jim and respected the job he does on defense. He's been a great coach in our league, and I just remember the last game, going back and looking at every tape, trying to find cases where maybe a top receiver was getting help and getting doubled, and there have been some examples, and yet in our game, man, it was a ton of man and a ton of double on Mike, and that really forced other players to have to, Kirkwood or Traquan or Dan Arnold, other guys had to make plays. There are times where they were doubling Alvin and doubling Mike literally, and everyone else had, kind of a cover zero look. So it forced us to make some adjustments quickly. But that's the fun thing about the games, because there's always some things that we're preparing for in here that we're not going to see Sunday, and then quickly you got to adjust.